Okay, I guess while we're waiting for others, we'll get started. And welcome to today's workshop on people skills in the workplace, emotional intelligence for PhD and Postdoc. And this is part of our foundational workshop series brought to you by the Center for Career Engagement in collaboration with DBS and the Graduate Center. And we have Jessica here from the Graduate Center who will say a few words to you before we start.
I'll just say hi. I'm Jessica Weldon. I'm the Associate Director of Fellowships and Funding in the Graduate Center, which is part of the space that you're in. We're also OISS and the McDonnell International Scholars Academy. So Suite 005 is half a million place these days. But the Grad Center is here to help everybody with academic skill enhancement. So always keep an eye on the website and the VPGE newsletter for everything that we have going on. Otherwise, we're here all summer.
Great. Yeah, we are very thankful for the partnership with them. And here today, myself and Kyle will be presenting to you. And I think we have seen many of you before. I'm the associate director. Kyle is assistant director. We are leading the career and professional development for all of WashU's PhDs and postdoc. As we said, this is part of the foundation workshop series. We just have one more session next month, which is talk about making a difference leadership for PhD and postdoc. And for those who are interested to watch the recordings for previous sessions, which really covered many important topics, you can let me know. I can share with you afterwards. And for those who haven't get a chance to check in using the QR code yet, please do that. So this way we can make sure we follow up with you and share the slide deck with you because there is tons of good information here. And if you miss this one, I think we have some printed QR code here as well. So before we start our workshop, I would like to ask these open questions. What made you to come to this workshop? What challenges have you experienced related to this topic, emotional intelligence or people skills? What do you want to learn? So in this way, I can maybe tailor our presentation and the workshop a little bit for you later. And I want popcorn style, just whenever you are ready, share your thoughts.
I think more recently I've had an experience to where I was in a professional work environment in a setting. So first of all, I'm Adriana Pratt. I'm a first year PhD student here in mechanical engineering, and I work on the med campus. So I do spinal biomechanics. So I'm back and forth to the hospital and my office on the med campus. But anyhow, I was sitting in the physician workroom, and I kind of just overheard some conversations happening that I didn't really think were appropriate. And it was a situation where I was just like, should I say something? Should I not? I don't really know how to feel about what I'm hearing. So yeah, I think I really came to this workshop to just kind of learn how to deal with those difficult experiences.
Yeah, great. How to deal with those difficult conversations, right? That definitely requires emotional intelligence. What else?
Actually, it is great. That which says a lot actually also to me personally. But I had around last year, 2 years ago, workplace harassment due to a man being weird and creepy, but we have to collaborate. So how that really struck with me, how do you navigate a situation where someone's constantly making you uncomfortable, but at the same time you can't really stop working with them because you're collaborating. And then I was really struggling to set that boundary, even if I set boundaries at times to keep overstepping. So it was kind of stuck with me. So probably in the future I'm going to continue working with people that I don't match with, or we're not in the same wavelength. In a worst case scenario, they make you uncomfortable all the time. So how do you navigate situations like that? I was just curious to see.
Yeah, that is a kind of very challenging situations, and we may not be able to fully address that in this workshop, but we'll be happy to discuss more for your particular situations. But some of the principles we talked about here should be applicable to you as well. Okay, one more. Yeah.
So my name is Uzo, UCO. I am a first year PhD student in public health. I am here by chance because
I'm glad I did that plug in.
So when you talk about this emotional intelligence, it struck me. Felt, it's an opportunity to pick up one or two things here. Thinking about emotional intelligence, I don't know whether it's appropriate, but recently, I don't know how many of you that heard about a teenager that got drowned at a lake at St. Charles. It was breaking news. So I happened to know them, and I went there for a condolence when we heard it. So when we got there, I worked with the mother of the deceased in Nigeria before she came over here. She came some few years ago before I also came last year. So I had to go visit them. So when I got there, the news just came and everybody was grieving. So one of the people that came pulled up his camera and brought up videos of the young boy that was drowned, and was, showing it to the mom. I was kind of like, should this person have applied emotional intelligence, knowing that this woman is grieving, Like, was it appropriate for that? I couldn't really, I was just wondering. It was a recent thing that happened. So I'm just let you share.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your experience and your story, right? Emotional intelligence not only affect ourselves, but also affect others, and how to behave in those type of settings is of critical importance. So thank you for sharing like why you come and what type of challenges you have. So I think this really aligns with what we designed here. So from this workshop, what we designed is, by the end of the workshop, we hope you really understand what is EQ we are talking about here and why this is important, especially for PhD and postdocs. And then, of course, we will spend most of the time to discuss, how to increase our emotional intelligence and what are some of the strategies. Go ahead.
Let me introduce myself.
Yes.
Rao from chemistry department. I attended your communication skills talk. You spoke very well. It matches my frequency level. The reason for attend workshop is my emotional intelligence is 0. I'm telling you, I may have a stronger other skills. I have a better research skills. I have a better communication skill. If everything works, I work everything perfect. If something which is not supposed to happen and happens, I becomes from that 100 to 0, no in between. So just how to increase the emotional intelligence, how to control the household emotions at the office, and office emotions also due to immigrant issues. Like tomorrow some news will come, all F1 J1 scholar have to leave within 2 months. It's okay, we have something, that's why we are here. But due to the change in scenario or policies, our emotional intelligence is getting highly influenced. So how to combat that? That's what I wanted to know from.
Yeah, there are a lot of changes, right? How could we have good EQ in response to all those changes? So thank you for sharing your stories as well. Yeah, so kind of we'll share practical strategies to increase our EQ, and that really include how to enhance our self-awareness, how to be more aware of others, and how to really strengthen the relationship, including how to respond to changes, right? It doesn't have to be some people, it could be some things, right? And then we'll discuss some real world scenarios and case studies as well. So with that in mind, this is our agenda. We'll very briefly talk about the what and why, and then spend most of the time to talk about the strategies and really practice, talk about some of case studies as well. With that, I think, Kai, could you talk more about what is emotional intelligence so that we can make sure we are on the same page, because this is actually a giant topic and different people may have different understandings.
All right, you may. So let's do a little bit of reflection here. And this is something that you can kind of either write about or think about a little bit, but I want to take you just a couple of minutes to think about like what emotions you've experienced recently, like what emotions have been particularly strong. And where do you feel like your emotions show up most in your life and in work? And how do these emotions affect your life or work and the people around you? So take a couple of minutes to just kind of reflect, write down, think about these prompts.
Yeah, and Rao just kind of mentioned your experience. So what are some additional emotions you have experienced? Yeah, think some real examples about you. We'll give, 1 or 2 minutes here.
I think that just simply your appointment is going to end by next month or August. So you have to search for another appointment which suits to your skills, and deadlines are too fast to handle it.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, you have your other things also. This is only a work-life balance, but some other things at home also goes. So to meet the deadlines, you need to be strong and control your emotions. So if you lose your temper, no one is going to help us. Everything we have to do on our own. So for that, we need God supports, but how to control emotions, how to be strong in the distress condition.
Yes, definitely very important, right? You need to control your own emotions and then behaviors so that you can function properly to address the challenges you are facing. Yeah.
During the phase transitions, once we getting into the position, we had some turmoils. After we are working here 2-3 years or 3-4 years, this is perfect. Now you are changing from this place to other place, or this phase to other phase. During that time, it's very difficult, a tough time, I should say.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, so you already mentioned that, like, when the emotions show up is during transitions. What else?
Uh, I think it's a dilemma where am I supposed to ask this question to my peers? Is this very basic or is this something I should know? And I've often come to a conclusion like after a day or two's struggle when I reach out to someone and they like, you should have come here before to speak. But despite having those experiences, still even today when just today when I was working on something and I'm banging my head for almost 1 day and then I reach out to someone for help. It was just like a 5-minute work, but I still find that difficult and I'm not sure if it's emotional intelligence, but yeah, the dilemma that I'm supposed to ask this person, should I bother this person? How am I supposed to bother this?
Yeah.
Uncertainty, basically, right? A lot of uncertainty. I think we can relate to that in academia. Yeah.
I'm struggling. I feel like it's Wednesday today, like 3, 4, 5 days, struggling to write an email to my professor asking him to ask him if he would like to be my advisor for the dissertation. And I know he's retiring next year, so I do want to be like thoughtful about that, but then I don't want to bother him because he has a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I am sure he will say, yeah, no problem. And that could be a one-line email, but it's constantly in my mind, like, how would he react? What should I say? What shouldn't I say? And that's like something that I think if I could learn a little bit more about this,
Yeah, that's great. I'm sure that is covered in this workshop. Yeah.
Saw a hand here.
Something that's coming up for me here is like maybe on the other hand of the other end of the spectrum of being like too muted with the emotions, so that it's because you're so much in the mindset of doing and working and all of that, and feeling like all of that has to be muted, so you're never really known or whole or present, and I think that can create like a negative perspective as well, because there's no way to make sense of who you are as a person.
Yeah. And this is especially true for PhD and postdoc who received many years of training to kind of like sometimes really control your emotion or ignore your emotions. Yeah. So
Last one.
Sometimes makes a joke. That makes
Yeah.
but you don't know what's the appropriate way to act because you don't want to be seen like, oh, they can't take a joke. It's like,
Yeah.
relax, you're taking it too seriously, but then at the same time, it truly felt unfriendly.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you don't do anything, then the emotion inside is burning yourself. But if you escalate or like you say something back, then it potentially escalate the situation. So I feel like that's a tough situation to navigate.
Absolutely. I
Like
appreciate
bullying
you.
kind of thing is getting quite common. It is in the schools.
Yeah.
But in the workplace also, few people belong to one region or one language starts bullying in a different way.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to understand.
Yeah.
Unless otherwise you suffer emotionally, then only you'll realize that, oh, these guys are after us.
Yeah. There are so many situations like
happens.
that, right? Not only in academia, but also in any of the future workplace, and how we can express ourselves in a way that is effective, right? I think that's what you are talking about. Definitely, that all belongs in emotional intelligence, and we're going to talk about that.
Yep. So if we're going to be kind of definitional here, this is our working definition for the rest of the presentation. Emotional intelligence is fundamentally your ability to recognize, manage, understand, and navigate the emotions in yourself and in other people. So it is a reflective and a relational process. So the first piece is the self-awareness, being able to recognize and identify what emotions you are feeling at any given point in time. The next part of self-awareness is being able to manage those emotions effectively. So to be able to control them, not have them control you. Then externally, to understand the emotions and needs of other people, what other people are feeling, thinking, and then to navigate those relationships well. And generally speaking, the research, a lot of different research has shown that a high EQ is associated with higher salaries, increased job satisfaction, greater productivity, and a whole host of other positive outcomes within your setting. And so hopefully we'll be able to address some of these various kinds of things today.
Yes, and one of the reason why they have higher salary is usually people with higher EQ. Maybe they have higher productivity, they have higher bonus, and they are likely to be more in the leadership roles. So this is really relevant for you. Still, we're going to have the second part, talk about why this is particularly important for PhD and postdoc. I mean, EQ is important for anybody, but particularly for PhD and postdoc. And here are some of the mindset. I think you briefly mentioned that, with our training, just the way we grow up, we get trained, we sometimes tend to think, okay, performance is everything as long as we have data, research paper. Some other things are not that important. So we put too much focus on this single thing. And good work will speak for itself. I don't need to explain it. If I'm a goat, I can shine anywhere. So I didn't pay much attention to our interaction, our communication with others. We are sometimes very much project focused instead of people oriented. We like to deliver results. We like to drive projects forward. But what about people component in this process? And we trained us to think critically, logically, rationally, and we tend to control our emotions. And sometimes we don't understand why other people have so many emotions, right? So those are our mindsets and assumptions. But in reality is that no matter where you work, what type of job you are in, you have to deal with people. Because your work relies on a lot of teamwork and collaboration, relies on a lot of communications, relies on mentorship. Is either you are being mentored by others or and also include, how you mentor others. It includes influence, right? Like for me, sitting in my role, I have to influence you to come to our workshop. I have to influence you to believe in what we have been teaching you, right? Similarly, no matter what you do, you have a lot of things to do with influencing, and that is related to people, reputation, how other people think about you. So that's why people skills, emotional intelligence is so critical for PhD and postdoc. And here, given our time here, this is kind of a follow-up questions from our last question. So I will stop. I will skip this one, but encourage you to think a little more. Think about someone you really admire. What are some of the things they do well with people? I can share with you one of the people I admire is my PhD advisor. He's very good with people. He can talk to any people. No matter what the situation is, he seems to be able to handle it very well. When I know him, when I was his student, he is just an assistant professor. Now he grows all the way to become a department chair. So people skills are very important for his career and for our career as well. And also think about some situation where, maybe somebody didn't show that good EQ, including yourself, and what are the consequences? What did you learn from that process? For the sake of time, I'm going to skip this one. I also want to share, we have been sharing this figure many times in our workshop. If you have come to some of our previous workshop, you may have seen this. This is a theory we want to show with you. It's called PIE theory. PIE stands for performance, image, and exposure. And this measures how much of them contribute to your career success. Performance is fundamental, but actually it only contributes to 10% of your success. Now, and image is, how other people see you, what's your reputation contributes to 30%. Exposure, how many people know you, your network contributes to 60%. And EQ actually affects all of those aspects, like your performance, your relationship with your PI, your advisor, right? Your lab dynamics, how you work with your teammates. I think some of you shared stories like that, how you collaborate with others. So EQ will affect your performance. EQ will also affect the image. For example, how you show up in your job interview. Whether you are considered to be able to take some leadership roles. It could be simple, like team meetings or mentor undergraduate students, or some other more serious leadership roles. EQ also, of course, affects exposure, right? Because network is all about people relationship. So this is really important to you. That's why we are so passionate about bringing this session to you. And now we're going to talk about how to build EQ skills. And as Kyle mentioned, because of those components, we're going to divide it into 3 sections. So how to build self-awareness, other awareness, how to nurture relationship. With self-awareness, you mentioned that sometimes it's hard for us to know our emotions. And one of the technique to increase our emotional intelligence is to be able to know what emotions we have. Sometimes we just say, okay, I'm feeling bad. And it's really hard to describe what that means. And by understanding the different words to describe your emotions, already help you solve the problem by half. Name it to tame it. Right? What are some of the emotions you experienced today that you want to control better or manage better? Think about it. Right? I can say, for example, I feel very indecisive today for one of the decisions I need to make. But knowing the emotion can already help you to feel calm down, to think solutions. So knowing your emotions. The second step is understand your trigger.
Yeah.
Right? Understand what triggers your strong emotions. Some people may respond very strongly by receiving criticism or feeling ignored, loss of control, maybe the
Time pressure
deadlines, feeling unfairly treated. It could be many, right? I encourage you to think what situations trigger your emotional reactions. Every person is different. And this exercise is very helpful because I actually did all those exercises.
Combat this. Do you have any suggestions to combat this?
How-
Face this,
To face this, yes. Come the later part. Step by step. Name your emotions. Find the triggers, right?
Solution.
Yeah.
Identify the problem, but solution should be there.
Yes, we will talk about that. Like, again, you need to know more about yourself, right? Do you have a question?
Oh, yes, it's about the triggers.
Yes.
Like maybe this is far ahead, but do you have any technique or something to identify those triggers? Because sometimes I just feel overwhelmed and I don't.
Yes, that's a great question, right? So maybe think kind of the pattern. Maybe sometimes come again and again. and what are the triggers? What are similar things? Like for myself, to be frank with you, I have like maybe 5 bosses by now. And for my former 3 bosses, I cried in front of them in one of our one-to-one meetings. So this is a repeated phenomenon. Then I think carefully what triggered that. And I identified feeling unfairly treated is a trigger for me. You could have multiple triggers. Time pressure is another trigger for me. But feeling ignored, those are not trigger for me. I don't seem to be bothered by that. So each people is different, but understanding kind of the pattern and think about your past experience to know what came up again and again, and those could be your triggers, and it could be many triggers. Knowing this can help you to be preventive. Yeah.
Journaling can be helpful with that. If you take time, like when you know you're feeling a certain way, you can take a moment, try to write down what's happened around you, what are the things that are going on around you, what kinds of conversations have you had with people, what kinds of events maybe have occurred recently, to try to track patterns on it, to try to identify what may be the causes if you're having trouble at honing in on it.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
So I just wanted to add to that, like, especially like journaling, but as simple as like if we just write in Excel what we felt and just we tag it in one of the columns that I felt sad or depressed, and then you can like just sort your Excel such that wherever it's good, that's like I usually say. So those are some really amazing tips.
Yeah.
Emotional mapping or finding out the phase changes of the moods.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah. Those are all great techniques. So we talked about name your emotion, find the trigger, and then the next very useful technique is also understand the early signs of defensiveness. Because sometimes the strong emotion is not showing up yet, but there is early signs. You want to be able to detect the early signals in yourself and also in others so that you can correct things, right? And there are many different signs, emotion. If there is already strong emotion response, you should be able to tell very quickly. But there could be physical reactions, right? Like how do you feel? Maybe a surge of energy, fast breathing, or even feeling hot, or you want create physical distance. Whenever my husband and I had a fight or argument, I really don't want him to hold my hands anymore. So, or I want to step a few meters away from somebody, crossed arms, closed gestures, facial expression, glare, from all those are the signs. So pay attention to those small changes, the early signs. Withdraw. Some people may suddenly stop talking, go silent, or walk away during the conversation. Blaming others, right? Is blame others for their responsibilities or bring up past mistakes they made, all those type of things. Cognitive distortions, you may become very extreme. It's all or nothing. Think about everything is bad, catastrophizing everything. Obsessive thinking, you don't let go the negative emotions. And all those small things can be signs of early signs of defensiveness. And again, you have to pay attention to your pattern. And this is a very useful exercise. And let me talk to you in this personal example. I said my husband and I, we actually have a very good relationship. We have been married for more than 16 years. We have 4 children. But I noticed that even though we love each other, but once every year, maybe we still have a kind of quite heavy argument. And have been analyzing what is the pattern for quite some time. We don't know what happened. How could we make things better? But it's really nice thing helped me later. Is I able to understand my trigger. My trigger is like feeling pressured. And also understand my early signs of defensiveness is I will withdraw. I will become silent. And once I understand that, I will remind myself, okay, May, something is going wrong. be careful. Later we'll talk about some self-soothing techniques. And I will also let my husband know, okay, those are my triggers. Those are my early signs of defensiveness. If you see things like that, you need to do something to help me as well, so that we can prevent big argument from happening. So, I mean, this is a personal story, but similar concepts can be applied in your professional setting. Yeah. And the next step is, once you have the early signs of defensiveness or you have some emotions, how to self-soothing yourself. And again, there are so many different techniques. Here we just mentioned a few. Change environment, do something else, right? Stretch your body, music, self-affirmation, say something to yourself. Hug, exercise, journaling. Journaling is my self-soothing technique. Whenever I do that, I find it very calm. Grounding technique, this means, kind of get yourself distracted. Think about what are the 5 things you see? What are the 4 things you can touch? Those type of things. What are 3 things you can hear? Help you get distracted from your current situation, and that can help you to calm down and face your challenges. Tap your social network, praying, quiet time, many different techniques, and you can try what works best for you. And again, this is talking about self-awareness and how to control yourself, manage yourself. And not only understanding your emotion can help you, but overall understand yourself better can help you increase your EQ. Knowing what you want, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are your styles, what are your interests, all those. I mean, this is related to EQ here, but may kind of related to many other things as well. And I encourage you to spend a little more time to explore. And there are a lot of tools. Many of them are free. If you are STEM students, we highly recommend Science IDP. It will ask you some questions and help you understand what are your values, interests, and strengths. Imagine PhD is more for social science, and humanity PhD students, again, similar tools, very good. Strengths assessment. We offered this assessment to PhD and Postdoc, and about 50 of you have the opportunity to participate. We plan to offer similar sessions in future, so pay attention to our newsletter and join us next time. For those who received this assessment, they find it super helpful to help them understand their strengths and their styles. DISC is an assessment very common in the workplace. We don't have it here yet. In future, I will try to introduce it to our community, but it may take some time. Last thing is really to do a personal SWOT analysis. Different companies do SWOT analysis very often, to help them understand. SWOT basically stands for strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. So companies do this type of analysis so that they can understand their competitive advantage. We can do similar analysis for ourselves so that we get to know ourselves a little bit more. Like, what are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What are the opportunities? What can you leverage? What is opening up for you? What are the threats? And when you think about this, do not just think about your research. Think you as a whole person, right? Including your research, your interests, your personal life, your personalities, your skills, anything you can, professional development opportunities, all those as a whole package, and do it once every while. That can really help you to understand your strength and leverage it, and also be aware of your weakness and threats so that you can be preventive. So this is a section we call about, really know yourself more as a person, and particularly know your emotions better. Any questions before we move to the next session, which is about get to know others a little bit more so that you can increase your EQ? We're good? Okay. So the next session is equally important, right? To know others more. And this is very basic, but actually super, super important, is even though we are all different, we have so many universal needs. We have so many similarities. Is that we want to be respected. We want to be heard. We want to feel valued. We want to be known. And knowing this, can really help you to conduct conversation or interact with others because you want to do things or talk your conversations in a way to make people feel respected, valued, and heard. So this is one first technique I want to introduce. And then several other principles I want to share with you, which I find very, very helpful is most of the people, they want to help. They love to help, right? I think you mentioned whether you want to ask help, you both. So this is actually our human nature. We tend to love to help people. Helping people makes us happy. So when we know this type of nature, we can leverage it. We can create situations so that we can ask for help, right? And that can really enhance your relationship with others. Second, assume good intentions. No matter what other people say, especially sometimes it may sound a little bit unpleasant in the beginning. Assume good intentions, and that can increase EQ, increase your relationship with them. Yeah. No one is perfect. So if you see something bad, understand, okay, no, in this world, no one is perfect. So that person can also make mistake. He has his own weakness. So this will give us show grace to ourselves and also show grace to others. Again, increase EQ, increase our relationship with others. Another one is your intent is not equal to your impact. What you want to deliver is not the same as other people, like what they receive. How you want to show up in front of others is not equal to how they perceive you. So that helps us to really think not only from our own perspective, always think from other people's perspective. What do you feel? How will you see this situation? And another one is, this is also a very kind of human nature, is people remember how you made them feel, right? People remember how you made them feel. It's not about, what the information I gave you or data I show you, is how I made you feel. And that is already about EQ, right? It's about emotion, it's about relationship. So that really help us to be able to show up, being authentic, being personable. You can share stories instead of just share facts. Think about stories you can share, personal examples, personal stories, and that is the part that can resonate with people, can stick in people's mind. Use visuals so that people can understand. It's because of this nature, human nature, that can really help us to have this type of behaviors and help us to how to deal with our people. You cannot please everyone. And this is the part that I had a long time to exercise. I think sometimes we tend to please everybody, try to make everybody like us, but you don't have to. It's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is just make other people feel respected. And you understand, one of the common challenges our PhD face is how to deal the relationship with the manager, their PI. And in your future workplace, you may encounter similar situations as well, how to deal with your boss. And one of the important things here is you need to understand there are different boss types. There are different management or communication styles. So there are a lot of different theories, and this is one that I really like. It divided like the bosses into 10 types: the body, servant, mentor, autocrat, visionary, perfectionist, task-oriented, micromanager, the inexperienced, and the hands-off boss. I want you to take a minute to think about your own boss right now. Think about their characteristics. What type of boss you are having, and what could you do better to work with them? Yes. You first, and you next. Yeah.
So I have two PIs technically since I'm on the med campus. My main PI is a neurosurgeon, so he's a neurosurgeon, like he's still doing surgeries. And I see him once a week when I go to the clinic. And then we have like bi-weekly meetings with my mechanical PI who's in my department. And he's definitely the hands-off boss, not only because he just does not have the time to micromanage me, but I think he also just expects a lot of me, like a lot of trust and responsibility on me, which I personally like to have the freedom to do things, but I've started to notice over the past couple weeks, like now I've gotten past my qualifying exam, and I'm like, okay, this is where the PhD really starts. Like, I need to start figuring out what data do I need to inform my aims and things like that. And so we had a meeting to discuss it, and I thought that like I was communicating my needs, like, hey, this is where I'm at, this is my thought process, what do you think? He's like, yeah, like this is just our main goal. And I was just like, okay, I know the main goal, but like, what next step should I take, or like, what would help me take the next steps? So yeah, we have to have another conversation about that next week, because I don't think that meeting was very productive.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
like the bullet point with like being proactive and seeking feedback, and I've noticed myself having to do that a lot recently. So
Yeah, and I can share that one of my managers in my career is like this, and all of the team members feel very frustrated at some point because he's so hands off, and I can certainly say those strategies help. And in addition to that, I also learned some other things. Later we can discuss more about that. But thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to share what is your boss style? Yeah.
Mine's all okay. But he's also a very insane perfectionist. So like it's a weird combination where we started drafting a paper last year, like February, and it didn't get submitted until like this week. And it's a combination of like kind of disappearing. And then also like sometimes it was understandable, like grant deadlines, like I can understand that. But then like he also disappears even if you message like, hey, like this paper still needs to like happen, right? So it's like, what do you do? And then because he's a perfectionist, when he finally had the time and attention to put it, he made us change the draft. I think we had like draft 18 by the time we were done. And at some point, like we submitted already, and then he came back with more feedback. So we resubmitted the submission before the reviewer even got back to it. So I think like it makes sense. Like I think for me, the struggle sometimes is I really dislike, or also therapy helps start out, but like I'm going to therapy, like I've known this for a long time, but it's so hard for me to feel like I'm displeasing or disappointing someone. So like if I would message and I felt like they were disappointed, like it would be so hard for me to try again next time, but we still have to get over that barrier because he's a perfectionist, but he's also hands off, right? So like I need your guidance, but then when I ask you, then like you can be harsh with your criticism, right? So like balancing that and just like having to be okay with like I like the point that it says like don't take it personally, like right. Even if he is disappointed, ultimately it is my PhD. Like I need to finish him. I need to get out of here at some point. So like you just have to keep trying.
Yeah, yeah. So knowing this can really help. I wish I had known this when I started my job. As you said, your boss may have multiple styles. So knowing their characteristics and then can help you to know how to better deal with it.
But will the slides be available?
Yes. Yeah. If you scan the QR code, we'll follow up with you with a slide deck. Yeah. Yeah. Some other thoughts about you. We can discuss more about this topic. It's so common that many PhD students or postdocs, their boss are hands off, and how to manage that. There are so many different tricks that we can use. So this is the second part, which is about how to know other people's needs and their style, so that we can have more awareness of them. The third part is really kind of combine those two together, right? Which is really about build better relationship with others. And here I'm going to share some quickly. I think many of them are very kind of common sense, but it's really about practicing it, doing it. So I'm going to go it very quickly. Those are the lessons I have been learning and I have been practicing and found it very, very helpful. And Kyle also, contribute to this part as well. So the first part is really listen. Listen is such a great skill in building this relationship. When I was a PhD student, I thought, listen is, you just listen. It's not a skill. But later, in the last few years, I really realized listening is a skill. You have to really listen very carefully to understand kind of the lines in between their words, and don't interrupt. I always try to feel the kind of the silence part. But silence, there are information over there. You need to pay attention. What are some of the message they're trying to say during that silence? Notice the emotion, especially early detection, right? Ask thoughtful, inquiring questions, clarifying questions, so that you're really on the same page. There is no misunderstanding, misalignment. And that is about listening as well. After listening well, ask questions. And hearing is not different, is not the same as listening. Here is really about you understand them. And then it's about communication. So listen and then speak. How to speak effectively is really, be clear, concise, and compelling. I think we have talked about this a lot, so I'm going to not talk too much. And then really know your audience. Think from other people's perspective. What do they really need? What do they want? What do they care? And this concept is exactly the concept you should use when you write your application material, when you write your resume, when you write your personal statement. You need to understand your audience, like what do they want to know, and then write your application material. Similarly, in your conversation, that's the same concept here. Timing is very important. When is a good time to talk about that? I made another mistake because I'm kind of, one of my weakness is not that patient, especially there is time pressure. So sometimes I will say things not in a very not in a very good timing. So that is actually a lesson I have been learning and I have been practicing. But it's hugely important. Showing appreciation and give credit freely. That is such a small thing, but can enhance relationships so significantly. At some point, I have been practicing. For every people I met today, I will give a thanks. I will give a praise. It can be a very small thing, but those small actions make a huge difference in building your relationship with that person and increasing our EQ. And again, another thing is communication is more than words, right? There is a Rabin rule here says that your communications with others, only 7% is determined by words. The rest of them is actually determined by other things, such as your tone, your voice volume, your body language, how you make other people feel about you, right? So all those things we need to pay attention on a daily basis so that we can speak more effectively and can increase the relationship with others. Some other practical tools, have one-to-one meetings with others. You mentioned sometimes, okay, I'm a little hesitating what I should ask that person, some help, some questions. One suggestion I give to you is maybe set up some one-to-one meetings with them ahead so that you build a personal relationship with them, you build trust, and later when you need some help, it's more natural to ask for that help. Yeah, so have one-to-one meetings. With your PI, you have regular one-to-one meetings. And how to build that relationship, how to really enhance and leverage your EQ, set clear agenda every time. Did you actually have agenda when you meet your advisor, or it's just go kind of randomly? Sometimes that helps, but sometimes, if you have a clear agenda, you can drive more productive meetings, more purposeful meetings. using STAR method to report progress when you communicate with your PI. We mentioned to some of you that use STAR method during interview. STAR is situation, task, action, and results. Similarly, when you have your regular meeting with your PI, you can use this STAR method. What is the situation you encountered? What did you do? What result did you get? What type of support you need your PI to give? So if you use this structure, you can make your meeting very effective, and your PI also understanding your needs. They can try their best to help you. So this is about effective communication. It's about emotional intelligence. And also small talks build relationship, right? Do not always talk about experiments, results, talk about whether what you are going to do this weekend, those small things. I think we mentioned a little bit last time as well. So I'm not going to emphasize too much. Give feedback. I think we had some scenarios mentioned earlier as well, some of the tough situations. How could we talk in a way, not only express our opinions, but in a way that other people can accept it? So this is some technique we can share with you. One is like sandwich method. When you provide feedback, always say something positive and then constructive feedback and then another positive. It's like bread, meat, and bread, right? Always say, thank you for sharing this information with me, and I appreciate what we are doing. Give something good thing about them, and then say some. If you could next time do this, that would be great. This can help me with that. So you give your criticism, and then you end with a positive tone so that it can help other people. I hope this is actually a very simple but very effective technique. I have been using it in my work with Kyle, with my colleague, even with my children. I've been using exactly this small technique, and it's so powerful, so helpful. Last here, I want to mention about how to deal with conflict and other hard conversations. One of the basic points I want to mention is focus on the issue, not the people. And also communicate in person directly, not through email. Like that's better with phone call. Best if you can meet in person. That can really help with your communication. And also talk to the person you want to talk to, not to another person to kind of complain about the person who is involved. That is usually going to damage your relationship. Those are small things, but super, super important. A lot of people had bad relationship is because they didn't do things like this. And then there is one more technique Kyle is going to show you is about pause, interpret, and respond.
So this is especially like multiple of you mentioned conflicts with people, with lab mates, with coworkers, with PIs. And so this is a framework to try to address those issues, address those experiences head on in the moment. So step one, recognize your reaction. So give yourself a moment to process what it is that you're feeling, understand what the emotional, like what emotion you are experiencing as a result of whatever kind of conflict has come up. Slow down, resist the urge to react immediately. It doesn't sound like that's a big problem here. So, but try not to jump at the issue. Take a breath and change environment if you need to. Conflict does not always need to be addressed right there. If you need some space to be able to process your emotions before you address or not confront, but talk to the person, then take that time.
Yeah. So this is very much related to what we have been talking before, right? Recognize, name it, to tame it, your emotion, right? Understand, like self-soothing technique, understand your early signs so that you can pause and you kind of restart the process.
Yep. And then at that point, once you've had a chance to pause, interpret your emotion, reflect a little bit, calm down, then you interpret what you are in conflict with here. So what did someone say? And try to do a few things. One, separate like fact from assumption. Try to figure out like, okay, what objectively have I seen? What objectively like happened here? What is my like interpretation of that? And is there a potential positive interpretation? Like if I assume good intention, what do I assume about the way that that person was, speaking or what they did or what they said, and come at it from that perspective? And we already kind of talked a little bit about that. May talked about like assuming good intention, especially at the start when you don't have a prior existing relationship with someone, is very helpful for avoiding misunderstandings. And then finally, when you respond, when you decide what you're going to do, choose a constructive response. And we have a communication framework that we suggest, and this is just a basic way of being able to try to address a conflict that's come up. You start with saying something like, I've noticed, like I've noticed something happened, or I noticed that you said this, or, I said this and you responded this way. Impact. The effect is, because of that, I, feel this way about something, or I wondered if this was a problem. And then request. Could we, and figure out like what it is that you want to ask, could we talk more about that? Could we clarify what you meant by that? Or could we, address that kind of problem or something? That last part is very important because you're making someone else part of the solution. You're asking them to help, to be a part of what's going on. And this is not like, I'm not going to guarantee that this is going to work with everyone, because not everyone you meet is also going to have like high EQ, but this is a good starting place so that you can try to approach this from a constructive point of view. And so that if the person that you are interacting with is unreasonable, you have presented yourself reasonably. So you've covered your bases as far as being a good colleague, a good professional, and that impact then doesn't necessarily like spread to other people. You don't like come across to other people. Like if the person you're dealing with has low EQ, but you come at it with high EQ, you present a lot better.
Yeah.
And now your colleagues and your manager and other people aren't dealing with like two folks with low EQ, basically. So
we can control the other part. We cannot control others. We cannot control.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. And I think I want to comment that this framework not only works when we deal with people, but also works when we deal with the situation. Rao, you said with the current funding situation and everything, pause, recognize your emotion, right? I feel so sad and distressed. Interpret. Maybe my assumption is that okay, I cannot find a job by August. Maybe there is no job, there is no funding. Are those assumptions true? And then respond, choose a constructive action. What should I do? Next step. Should I meet a career advisor? Should I talk to my current PI? Maybe I reach out to a collaborator to see whether they have opportunity? It's the same framework. It's pause, interpret, challenge your assumptions, and then respond constructively so that you can really face your challenge and move toward your progress. Yeah.
These are not perfect, man. But telling advice to someone who are in a tough time, it works. And to learn, it works. When yourself involved in that tough situation, no one will console you. How to console yourself, how to combat yourself in that situation. You're good at telling others.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, don't do this. You write somewhere, you talk to them, you talk to PI career. This is good advice.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are at a better position. You are not in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
But when yourself involved in multilateral things, at least 2-3 things, then that is the tough time.
Yeah.
That is when you don't have emotional intelligence at that time, you will go in a depression.
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, what if I think I get stuck at the interpretation part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because from my experience in the situation I'm thinking of, nothing good. There was no good intent in anything. It was just very harmful jokes. So it's what do you do about that?
Yeah.
I don't even know if even with the constructive action and like response, like you said, some people just really have low EQ, but some people also have low IQ and like low situational and awareness of everything in the world.
Yeah.
And so it's just like,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
those situations, I think that's where I get stuck. And just like, how am I supposed to come at this with like grace and empathy when you yourself are not capable of having those traits?
Yeah.
If you like, there will be times when you know that like there's not good intention happening here, and there's not going to be necessarily constructive response forward. But if you proceed as though there is, it provides you with more cover and more options moving forward, right? Because maybe you know that your coworkers or your lab mates or something are not going to be part of the solution. But if you approach them as though they are, then you can go to your PI and say, I tried talking with folks about this. They didn't, I tried doing this and they didn't respond. And you've been reasonable. You've shown that you've given them the benefit of the doubt. You've done what like a reasonable person would do. If it's a supervisor, then you do the same kind of thing. And if it doesn't work, you go then maybe to a department chair and you say, I was talking with my PI about this. I did this set of things. Again, it's kind of covering bases. It's knowing that like, yeah, sometimes there's just bad actors and you're just not, there's no way around that. But you kind of play it out because it will show to the next set of people, like you're basically working your way to find a reasonable person. And you want to show that person that you're reasonable. And so it's doing due diligence for a later interaction.
Yeah, good. Yeah, completely agreeing. I think, yeah, really require a lot of interpretation, self-understanding, trying to understand others, and then trying to come up with reasonable solutions. Happy to talk more afterwards, but I think Kyle's response, I really agree with that. I want to come back to Ralph's comment, and that is very true, right? Sometimes it's easy to give advice, but when the bad situation, challenging situation happen to us, like, am I going to respond very well? I want to answer in two folds. One is, it is a skill. This is something you can learn. You can respond better than last time. It's resilience, right? I think what we are talking about here definitely applies to yourself. You can handle things better. The second one is sometimes it's really hard. You get trapped. You basically you don't have any other ways to help yourself. And in those cases, I think a few things can be helpful. And I welcome other people's comments as well. One is your support system. Your support system at this point is very, very helpful. Your family members, your colleagues, those could be very helpful for you. When you are down, let them carry you in this journey. Second is really know your value, know yourself, right? Even if I cannot find that job by August, I'm still a valued person. I love myself. I like myself. Knowing your self-worth in this process, I think is very important in those down moments. Don't doubt yourself. You have a challenge, but you are still valuable, and it will take time. It will take steps, to overcome that challenge. I think those are some of the tips that I want to share, and it definitely helped myself. But I definitely resonate with you. Sometimes it's easy to share opinion when you are in that situation. It's hard, but definitely also you can learn. I can share one story. When I first graduated from my PhD, I also had had some time where I had trouble to find a job. I was so stressed, and everything is hard to manage. I can tell you now, if I lose my job again, and if I need to find a job, I believe I can handle that situation better. And that is because I learned new skills. I built resilience. And also that is because I trust my self-worth. I know I am valuable even if I cannot find a job. And I know I will find a job. Other day it may take time, it may take steps, there will be a job for me because I know I have skills and everything. Yeah. Yeah. Other people, if you want to share anything, feel free to add.
Jokes.
Mhm.
So, actually, this week, someone kept making jokes about Oriental, like making comments about it, for example, because I'm not American, so I did not grow up in an English-speaking country, and I had recently found out that was a slur, and I was like, I had no idea. So I brought it up, and then we were in a group of friends, and one of them kept making jokes like, I don't be like, why it's so bad, like whatever, and we were explaining, and then he kept saying it, because he's like, yeah, but it's funny, and then he just kept saying it and saying it and saying it. And I me and my friends keep telling like, hey, like I understand it is funny for you, and we know that you don't mean it that way as the derogatory term, but it's still nice for us to hear. But it kept going, and I think something I've had to realize too is some people you genuinely just can't reason with. But I've tried. So sometimes the best thing you can do in capability is just distance yourself.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be physical, but you can at least mentally distance yourself.
That's true.
Because in the end, like I can't control what the person is saying and doing, and the best I can do is control my reaction.
Yeah.
And I don't want this person to keep ruining my day because I keep getting offended by it. The best I can do is feel like I think this person like doesn't understand and is lacking in like I don't know, sensitive like lacks tact. And the best I can do is move on and be like, you know, this is a tactless person and like that says a lot. Like I will keep like an okay relationship from a distance, but don't pursue anything.
Yeah. Stay away from temptations, right?
Also, though, it is important you all understand your like rights as you know, students, as workers. Like you have a right to a non-hostile work environment. And so there are cases, and this is outside the purview of what we're discussing here. There are cases where things do need to get escalated to your PI, to your chair, possibly even to like an office opportunity on campus or something like that. So, you know, that's
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Like, how do you deal with the pressure of everyone around you keeps telling you to not do it? Because that was my experience after being harassed so much by this guy. He was like, don't escalate. Like, he's already stressed. Like, your PI is stressed. Like, oh, the people around you are stressed. It's kind of like harmful with what we're doing. And they were telling me, and then I ended up not doing anything.
that is, like I said, probably a tougher question than we can have the ability or time to answer right at the moment.
Yeah. Happy to talk more afterwards. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, yeah, 2 more questions over there. Yeah, I think you raised your hand first, and then we'll go to next two.
Joke situations.
Mm.
So I think you mentioned when you integrate, you cannot find a good way. For me, when I try to evaluate whether it's me being oversensitive or they cross the line, I try to explain the situation to someone outside, like a friend or family I trust, and if from a third party, if they think it's crossing the line, then I know okay, it's not the overthinking. That's one. And also sometimes I find it hard to escalate the situation if I know I'm gonna be working with this person for the next 5 years, and if I decide to, like report or like have tough conversation with them, I know the relationship is not gonna look good even on the surface, then it'd be tougher for me to go into work every day knowing it's not, at least we're not even pretending anymore, and then have to see each other every day. But one thing that I recently realized that helped release some of that burden is to accept the fact that you don't have to be friends with your coworkers. Because and in the beginning, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna spend time with them more than some of my family, so I want everyone to be like, oh, loving, friendly, and best friend. To accept sometimes it's just not gonna happen, and they can just be coworkers, then it also helps you to keep distance from them. It's like, okay, we come in, we work, we can present ourselves in a cordial way, like professional way, and then we part to live our life. It's like my current strategy.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah.
So, I would like to share insights, maybe like myself. So, many times in such situations, what happens is we don't know if you're overthinking or I just heard it wrong or did that person meant that, if they are good at the rule of thumb that my parents have taught me is it can happen once, accidents can happen once, it can happen twice. But in third time, if you're still feeling the same thing, even if the situation might not be that serious, but you are feeling it, then you should act on it, or at least try to put forth your idea. One of the perspectives that I have towards it is because when somebody ruins your day, maybe a person or two, that person is not affected by how you're feeling. The people who are close to you, your loved ones, your close friends, your parents, they get really affected when you are sad. So it is about you are giving too much importance to one person who is ruining your day, but you are not giving similar importance to 10 other people who genuinely love you and care for you. So whenever you feel like should I act or not, then rather than thinking whether you are ruining that one person's day who hurt you, think about the fact that there are 10 other people who genuinely love you and who get affected genuinely when they see you sad. So it's unfair to them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's okay to take actions, but we take it with emotional intelligence, right? Take it professionally. And that takes a lot of wisdom, a lot of practice as well. And that is also highly related to your belief, your value, right? What you want to really present yourself. So I'm glad we have all those wonderful discussions, and some of you already shared your cases, your challenges. And here I just want to, we may not have time to fully go through all those three scenarios, but we'll try to cover two here, given our time. And the first scenario is a very simple one. I just want to, help us to apply what we have learned in this situation. So the situation, this is a real situation. M and W are PhDs in the same lab. One morning, M opens the freezer and finds a bright sticky note in W's handwriting. Please remember to put the reagents in the right order in the box. 2 exclamation mark. What are the possible interpretations of Y's intent? How should M respond with high EQ? This is just one example, but some other similar versions of things may happen to you, right? I hope this resonates with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't work in a lot. But
Yeah, it may
like,
it may be obvious other things,
yeah, I don't know. At home, maybe that I don't know if my husband like puts the things in a different order sometimes. Just it may bother me, but I know that he doesn't like realize that. So maybe W is very frustrated because it's something important to them. But they could find a way to bring it out, like in a like, informative way and not in that confrontative way. So I would feel, I personally would feel like shocked by seeing it, right, sticking out for them. Just that. But maybe if I pause, I could say like maybe I didn't realize that this was something that was bothering you or something I was thinking about. And maybe try to be more thoughtful about that. But yeah, my first reaction would be like shock and like defensiveness. But maybe I pause. I thought, like, maybe I didn't realize this, or didn't realize that.
Yeah, and understand others, control yourself. Great. What else?
I think one of my interpretations would be confusion because they like it's in their handwriting, but they didn't like sign their name. So then it would make me start questioning sort of like why they're being passive aggressive. Yeah, comments. Yeah, that is what about this. I don't know how I respond. Probably not that great.
I feel like that happens often in the sense of like I feel like, but I think it's because I work in a lab and obviously the people that I work is like we had generally get along well, so I just assume like, oh, like I guess I forgot again, whoops. I'll just better next time, just like not say anything. But I think if this came up again, then it's like, all right, like what's going on? If it's just once, I'll be like, oh, it's my bad. I guess I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, each situation could be different. And there are also multiple ways to show high EQ, and there could be multiple ways to show no EQ. So every situation is different, and all your interpretation could be true. So you use your best judgment to understand what W is thinking and how you as M will respond. What about you?
Practicing what we learned today, interpreting with good intention. I would say maybe W didn't know who was the person that mixed up the order, so they didn't know who to talk to. So instead, they just leave notes in the fridge, so whoever sees it will address it. And also maybe they didn't want to escalate this into a full conversation, so they feel like a reminder. Maybe like the exclamation point line is not really like shouting, but like maybe they felt like, okay, I just did something, that's it, and really just says that. I would react with like, okay, like, no, I'll keep in mind. If M is the one who actually did it, and it caused trouble or like problem, then I'm like, yeah, like we tend to be defensive in the beginning, but then it's like, oh, it's not really targeting you. It's just like these are all and just like
Great. The two exclamation mark could be emphasize this is important, or I'm very angry. But assume good intention, I think, that's a good strategy. Yeah.
Similar to her, if it's in my lab, because my lab was super cute and super supportive, it's very beautiful about. But yeah, if something like that happened, I would probably think it's just an okay, maybe I should keep that in mind. And if I come across M, I would say, oh, did you write that? And if they say yes, then I'm like, oh, thanks for the reminder.
Yeah, great. Oh, very, very good. Yeah, this is actually a real situation that happened to me when I was a PhD student. My lab mate wrote this to me. What I want to emphasize here is, early detection signs, right? Two exclamation mark, the words already made me feel like, okay, something is wrong. I need to take actions. And I assume good intentions. It could be, a lot of things I think we touched about that. She may have different feelings and everything to interpret the process and then take actions. So have a good conversation with that person. And if it is really me, apologize and don't do it again. And if it's not me, have a conversation. Listen why she had put this mark. Here, listen first and then have their perspective. Another small thing is, I really wish when she had this suggestion, maybe she can talk to me instead of leave a note. So those are some of the strategies we have been discussing in today's workshop, and I hope we can apply those in our real situations. Okay, very quickly, I just want to add, I think we talked a little bit about hands-off PI. I think the strategies over there kind of listed is very helpful. Another very quick point I want to make is usually that means you just have to make sufficient progress. You want support, but you cannot find support from your advisor. You may need to think how to find support from other people, maybe your thesis committee chair, or maybe a thesis committee, or maybe your senior PhD and postdoc in the lab, things like that, and try to generate progress. So work on the things that your PI think is priority, and then once you deliver enough progress, he will be more than happy to meet you. That could be one of the situations. It doesn't come, it's not all, but in my particular case, I find this is the key to get on hold with my boss. Really not him to be able to meet me. Micromanager is another situation PhD encounter a lot, especially in this particular situation. Again, this is a real PhD case. It says the PI visits the office or lab very frequently to check presence, review every experiment detail, and pointed his mistake in 3 separate instances. What should he do that can show high intelligence? We just need to, given the time here, I just want to briefly mention, usually when your boss micromanages you, usually is not because he has nothing to do and he wants to, understand everything you are doing. Usually it's because he doesn't have trust in you yet. So you have to gain that trust. You have to make sure you are there, you show up. You have to make sure you do things well so that he has trust in you and he doesn't have to check every detail. So it's really a trust issue here. Okay, the third scenario again is a real PhD student is about managing tension between people. You can read it afterwards. And you have already shared a lot of examples from your real situations, so I'm glad. And if you have additional specific case you want to discuss with us, we're happy to discuss more, either after this workshop or in future one-to-one coaching meetings. So as not the next step, we talked a lot of techniques, have great discussions here, and to really amplify what we are learning. The next important step is to apply what we have been learning in everyday situation. So here are a few suggestions we have for you. What is one thing you would like to do to increase your self-awareness? Maybe it's to name your emotion, understand your trigger, understand your early signs of defensiveness, or do some self-assessment. Understand more about yourself. What is one emotion trigger if you specifically one thing that you want to manage better? What is one communication skill you want to practice? And what is one action you want to focus on? Remember, I told you that I practice this praise in every conversation I'm having, and that helps. And by practicing, you build these habits, and that help you with your EQ. So what is one action you are going to take in the next few weeks? And if you keep practicing that, it will make a huge difference. And once you grasp that skill, work on something else. So the takeaway here is EQ is learnable. People skills are equally important than your research technical skills. So pay attention to cultivate your people skills. Your relationship drives success. Your ability to work with people is very, very important. And then small changes make a huge impact. So with that, we'll stop here and take some questions. And during the Q&A time, if it is possible, please fill this survey. This is our first time to cover this topic because usually for Career Center, we won't cover topics like people skills, emotional intelligence. We will talk, of course, about resume, application material, things like that. But this is a topic that we feel is very important for our PhD and postdoc. So that's why we designed it in our foundation workshop. We want to ask your feedback. So give us your honest feedback. We would love to hear that so that can help us to design our future programming for you so that we can support you better. It should be very quick, 1 or 2 minutes, you should be able to finish the survey. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, now is a good time to ask. And I hope everybody can participate in the survey because your survey is really, really going to be helpful for us. And again, just use your phone to scan, and it should take just 1 minute. It's only like 2 or 3 simple questions.
While you're all doing that, also just again to reiterate, our final workshop of the academic year will be next month, July. We'll be talking about leadership.
And this is another topic that we see highly important and relevant for you. So we're going to do our best to try to design content for you, and we're going to learn together. If there is no more questions, thank you for attending today's workshop. Again, Pao and I will be staying for longer. Feel free to grab more food and drinks. There are a lot left, so get some home. And I hope to see you in our next workshop as well.